More than a mere hub world, Castletown's Grand Fountain is one of Deltarune's greatest mysteries. While we seal fountain after fountain, causing them to disappear, this geyser of pure darkness remains and evolves with us, transforming with every new recruit. But why? This kingdom can be a vibrant environment filled with life and NPCs, or an almost empty place with only the most essential darkners inhabiting its darkness. And we can't forget the peculiar Rudin, who calls Castletown by the player's name, a name no one else ever uses, known only by the entity that welcomes the player. Furthermore, the area known as Unknown is riddled with holes oozing a dark substance very similar to that of the Titans, featuring a puzzle dedicated to the characteristic eyes that appear on the Titans' bodies. What if the answer is that Castletown's fountain isn't the beginning of our adventure, but the result of a previous cycle? What if this kingdom wasn't created by us, but inherited? The truth is, many clues suggest this fountain hides the scars of a prophecy already fulfilled, a roaring that has already devastated the world, and the sacrifice that was made to stop it. Castletown is more like a monument, the key to understanding a sacrifice that has already happened, and that, thanks to the Roaring Night, is about to happen again. So to unravel this mystery, we first need to understand the rules that govern it, and those rules are given to us by the Prince of Darkness himself. Chapter 1. The Dark World's Rules. To begin to understand the anomaly of the Grand Fountain, we must first break down the rules that govern these worlds. Our main source of information is Ralsei, the supposed Prince of Darkness. He is our guide, our informant, and almost everything we know about the prophecy, we know from him. From Ralsei, we learn the foundational legend. For millennia, light and darkness have lived in perfect balance, bringing peace to the world. It is a delicate equilibrium that, according to him, is now threatened by the appearance of a new fountain, shattering the harmony and giving rise to a terrible calamity. He then details the Fountain of Darkness, a geyser that gives his kingdom its form. Here, Ralsei's narrative clashes head-on with reality. A balance of millennia, maintained by a simple supply closet in a school that is barely a few decades old. Something doesn't add up. The school doesn't seem to be thousands of years old, and Ralsei's own kingdom is suspiciously empty. Although it's the first place we meet Lancer, only Ralsei inhabits it. Where are the subjects of this ancient kingdom? Or is it that Ralsei's legend isn't a history lesson, but a convenient narrative? Just before we leave, Ralsei gives Chris a crucial clue, one that defines our relationship with this world. They tell Chris that they believe their choices are important and suggest they avoid fighting. This is a flagrant contradiction to the philosophy the game itself imposes on us. Your choices don't matter. Ralsei's warning seems to go beyond simple friendly advice. It's the first sign that he knows something else is guiding Chris. The importance of this choice materializes in Chapter 2. If we follow the pacifist path and recruit Darkners instead of fighting them, Castletown transforms. Ralsei's warning wasn't just moral, it was functional. In his own words, Ralsei's kingdom isn't a static place, it's a work in progress. It's a refuge that fundamentally depends on the recruits we bring from other worlds. The need for this refuge becomes painfully clear when a deadly rule is revealed. With the exception of Ralsei, Darkners from other dark worlds grow weak and eventually turn to stone. It's a death sentence, with one very convenient exception. Ralsei holds the ace up his sleeve that makes his whole plan work. It's the only arc that can save them. However, in Chapter 3, Ralsei adds another layer of complexity. He defines Dark Worlds not as another plane, but as an illusion. It's a place where fantasies can be lived out, but in the end, he insists, it's not real. This is the truth Susie flatly rejects. To her, her friends are real, her experiences are real, and that's the only truth that matters. This tension between Ralsei's fantasy and Susie's felt reality is the key to everything. However, the most important rule, the one that defines the true nature of creation, is revealed later, almost by accident. After Susie's failed attempt to create a fountain to revive Gerson, Ralsei reveals a fundamental truth. This is the missing piece: specific darknesses. It confirms that a Lightner's determination isn't generic. It's a unique frequency, a psychic fingerprint that resonates with objects differently, bringing them to life based on the memories of whoever opened the fountain. Susie's fountain didn't have the right frequency for Gerson, but the one in the church somehow did. These rules are the key, and they prove that the worlds we've sealed are not the only ones that have ever existed. In fact, the evidence of a lost dark world, a ghost fountain, has been right in front of us the whole time. Chapter 2. Other Fountains. The rules Ralsei reveals are the key. If darkners are memory patterns tied to specific darknesses, then any darkner who doesn't belong to a fountain's frequency is doomed to turn to stone. This deadly rule, ironically, gives us irrefutable proof that the worlds we have sealed are not the first. Proof that other fountains have existed. The main evidence is one of Chapter 3's most intriguing characters, Ramb. At first glance, they look like a simple plug boy, but something is different. They have an explosive personality, unique expressions, and most importantly, they have memories. Ramb perfectly remembers their life in the light world. They were a power strip that Chris and Azrael borrowed from the library. They remember Chris playing with them like a toy, an act that gave them their air of greatness. They claim to know Chris well, to know the games they enjoy, and they are the one who grants access to the sword route, but their memories don't end there. Interestingly, Ramb remembers Chris and Noelle playing house with the objects that would later become King, Queen, and Tenna. Even more revealing, Ramb knows the Darkners from the cyber world. They ask Chris directly about Queen, Swatch, and even Spamton. Ramb is a temporal anomaly, a refugee from another world, and their fate seals the theory. Regardless of whether we complete the sword route or not, in the end, Ramb turns to stone. This is the smoking gun. Ramb was not created in the TV world. Like the other plug boys, their origin is in the cyber world, but not the one we visited. Ramb was born from a previous dark fountain created in the library. Their petrification is the tragic consequence of a darkner existing in a frequency that is not their own. And here, the implications become massive. Remember Noelle's nostalgia? She claims Des had promised to take her to a place exactly like the cyber world. The connection is chilling. Des, Azrael, and Chris had already entered a dark world created in the library. That's where they met Ramb. Chris didn't take the power strip home because they needed it. They took it because they had befriended Ramb in the dark world. Ramb is the survivor of a lost adventure, a ghost fountain that was sealed long ago. Ramb is the strongest proof, but not the only one. Think about the Pippins. These dice-based darkners appear briefly in the first 2 chapters and fully inhabit the TV world. However, unlike Ramb, none of them turn to stone when traveling between these worlds. The reason is simple. They are objects being distorted by darkness for the first time. There were dice in the card kingdom, but also in the TV world. Dice that Chris and Azrael used for games and lost in the living room. Their survival is the control group that proves why Ramb's fate is so significant. If Ramb proves the existence of a ghost fountain in the past, the next clue proves the danger never left. The end of Chapter 3 gives us the final piece. When the Roaring Night takes Undyne, Susie chases them to the bunker. She finds it open, emanating dark particles, very similar to those coming from the fountains themselves. This happens before Chris creates a new fountain. The meaning is undeniable. Card Kingdom was not the first fountain to rise and endanger the balance. There was already an active, or at least residual, fountain in the bunker, a place that has been locked and abandoned for years. The calamity Ralsei speaks of didn't just begin, it has simply reawakened. We have demonstrated the existence of at least 2 other fountains outside of Ralsei's narrative. This shatters the legend of millennia of balance. The balance wasn't just broken, it has been breaking and reforming in cycles, long before we fell into the closet. So, the real question emerges. If other fountains have existed, if the bunker was already active, and if Ramb's fountain collapsed, what makes the Castletown fountain the main one? How is a fountain of pure darkness created? Chapter 3. The Grand Fountain. We've proven the existence of ghost fountains, which shatters the legend of a millennial balance. This brings us back to our central question, now armed with new context. What then is the Grand Fountain? At first glance, Castletown is different from anything else we've seen. It's remarkably small, almost intimate, but it's in constant evolution. It is the only dark world that changes. We watch as recruited Darkners enjoy their new home, transforming buildings with their arrival and constructing rooms for themselves. Ralsei calls it pure darkness, an ark, and we see that promise fulfilled, a refuge that expands to welcome refugees from other worlds. But it's inside the castle, the heart of this kingdom, where the real clues are revealed. The facade of a simple home gives way to an architectural map. In the main hall, we find Ralsei's cauldron, but the real intrigue lies in the doors behind it. One with an up arrow, leading to the rooms, and another with a down arrow, leading to the cells. Both doors are flanked by a pair of wings identical to those we see in the Deltarune prophecy. But it's the middle door that stops us in our tracks. Since chapter 2, this door has remained sealed. Unlike the others, it bears a crown instead of an arrow. And above the door is the unmistakable symbol of a human soul. Most revealingly, it doesn't have one pair of wings, but 3. This symbolism isn't just decoration, it's a statement. The wing iconography is repeated throughout the castle, even on its exterior silhouette seen from afar. When we compare this to the image of the prophecy Ralsei shows us, we see 2 pairs of wings emerging from the castle, as if Castletown still needs to evolve by gaining that extra pair to be ready for the prophecy. Furthermore, the Deltarune symbol is visible above the castle, but with a major difference. There are no wings, only the other elements, as if telling us that this castle is part of Angel's Heaven. The relationship between the Grand Fountain and the prophecy is absolute. This castle is a container of secrets. The central door, with its crown and human soul, hides something intrinsically linked to the true meaning of Angel's Heaven. Speculation is inevitable. Is it a room Ralsei has prepared for the player, the wielder of the soul? Is it the final barrier protecting the fountain of pure darkness? Is it a throne room where the player will sit and rule? Or is it something more sinister, a command post for the final battle, or a gate imprisoning a relentless force? Only one thing is certain: the wings. The wings that adorn these doors, the castle, and the prophecy are a characteristic feature we've seen somewhere else. They aren't just a symbol of angels, they're a symbol of titans. And that's not the only element connecting them that we find in this world. Chapter 4. The Roaring. The Titan's wings are in Castletown's architecture, and the eyes are even closer. Before reaching the cliff where Mr. Society exiles himself, we find the enigmatic Unknown Zone. Many separated from Castletown due to its desolate atmosphere, but its connection is undeniable. To exit any dark world, we must cross a large door that marks its borders, and the only door here leads to Card Kingdom, sealing itself after the fountain is closed. This place is undoubtedly part of the Grand Fountain, and it's a zone filled with hole-ridden walls from which the same dark substance as the Titans emanates. Eye symbols cover the walls, all leading us to a single puzzle. The instructions are a prophecy in themselves. The solution is to darken all 3 eyes. A simple riddle, yes, but its symbolism is chilling. It will be necessary to enter eternal darkness, the darkness brought by the roaring, to see the way. The evidence is forensic. The iconography of the Calamity, the Titan's wings, and their darkened eyes are not just warnings, they are the very foundations of Castletown. This leads to an inevitable conclusion. The Grand Fountain we know is not one that has endured for millennia. Ralsei's legend falls apart. The legend doesn't predict the future. It's a memory. It's a story of a past event doomed to repeat for eternity, in an endless cycle. A cycle in which, after a period of balance, the world is endangered and heroes answer the call. This means the roaring has already happened. Darkness has already covered the world once. Previous theories have proposed that Des, Sham, and Azrael were the heroes of that prior prophecy. As the legend says, balance returned, but only after a great sacrifice. That sacrifice was the loss of Des, condemned to remain in eternal darkness. The price was the destruction of their Grand Fountain, their castle town, and all the recruits they had gathered. The Grand Fountain we now inhabit is not the original. It is the dark world born after the prophecy was fulfilled, created by the person with the most determination in Hometown to restore balance. That's why this new fountain already incorporates elements of the Titans and the prophecy. It was born from their ashes. And this is where the true horror of the plot is revealed. If the prophecy occurs in millennial cycles, why is it happening again so soon? The answer, once again, is Des. The Roaring Knight's plan, and perhaps that of others in Hometown, is not to unleash the apocalypse out of pure malice. It's a desperate attempt to force the cycle. They want to bring back that darkness, not to destroy the world, but to rescue Des and restore balance for another millennium. Think about it. The prophecy speaks of the darkness that will cover the world, a single path. This sacrifice could have been the destruction of the previous hero's castle town, perhaps creating a titan from the fountain of pure darkness infused with the essence of all darkness to confront the other titans of the roaring. Angel's Heaven could be Castle Town materialized as a titan, or maybe they had to close that fountain to restore balance. Whatever the case, the sacrifice is great, and the detail that complements this is the hint that Susie has attitudes very similar to Des. If Susie promised to avoid the prophecy's sacrifice, Des could have reached the same conclusion. Instead of sacrificing her friends, she sacrificed herself, stepping into the darkness. However, her attempt failed. The grand fountain of the past was sacrificed anyway. That's why this grand fountain already had the appearance of an inhabited town, with empty shops and buildings. They are the memories of the previous recruits, the phantom pain of what once was. This new fountain was created after the prophecy ended, but it was created with the intent of making the roaring happen again. Ralsei, the sole inhabitant, the supposed prince, armed with all the information of the prophecy, seems to have the purpose of ensuring the prophecy is fulfilled again, restoring balance once more. This time, they are preparing everything to accelerate the prophecy's cycle, forcing the arrival of a human soul capable of sealing a new roaring. That's why the door with the human soul has been there from the beginning. It's not just a mystery, it's the centerpiece of the mechanism. It's the barrier that keeps death locked away, a barrier that only a human soul can break. The question now is for you. Who do you think created this cyclical grand fountain? Is Ralsei a pawn of the prophecy, or its puppet master? And what exactly is hiding behind the door with the human soul? Leave all your theories down below in the comments. I always read them.